Okay, we're on Kingsley Plantation today. We're looking at the slave quarter section. This photograph that we're looking at right now says that this photo was taken from the spot where we now stand, looking that way. So of course that tree was there. The tree that we're looking at was there, as were all the cabins. And we're going to go through, not each one of the cabins, but we're going to do a walkthrough. There were more cabins than this. I think there's like 24 left, and we're at 1.35 or something like that. But these cabins were constructed between 1814 and 1823. It says animal sacrifice was still practiced here, so these would have been slaves straight off the boat, to use the vernacular.
To keep their African names.
Yeah, and so they would have had their voodoo religions and that sort of thing. So they were sacrificing chickens and everything else, because that's what they did where they came from. Oh, here's some more all the way back here. So these would have been. Oh wow! I don't think I saw these the first time I was here. We're gonna go start here, and we're gonna go walk around back to the beginning on the other side. This is incredible. This is amazing stuff. These cabins made out of tabby would have been cool in the summer and warm in the winter. As we'll see on the other side of the road behind us, when we look at those, each one had a fireplace, each one had a separate room. There's holes in the wall to hold wood. They probably had wooden pallets, so they would have slept up off the ground. So they would have had a much better existence than slaves on other plantations. I won't say that this is the best plantation as far as treatment is concerned, but as far as housing is concerned, this is easily the best one we've ever seen, and we've seen a lot of them. In fact, there are very few extant slave quarters because they were made out of wood, and they were made haphazardly. They weren't preserved, so they would have been mainly you just forgot about. There would be archaeological evidence now of where they were situated on various plantations, but they haven't been restored or anything. That's pretty neat. I don't think I saw those when I was here before. I don't recall. I'd have to look at my original video, but that was pretty neat. They went all the way back, so there would have been more than through here that aren't there now. And all of these are constructed out of poured tabby. And as you can see, as we'll see going along, there's various stages of deterioration. This one's obviously very much deteriorated, but you can still see a little piece of the brick fireplace. They were all constructed the same. It's sort of, in that regard, it's a housing development. They all had a fireplace, which is in itself unique in terms of slave quarters. This one has fireplace still on the bottom, but not going up to the Not going up as high as what we'll see on the other side. The other ones on the other side seem to be much better restored, much better maintained. Another thing that I learned on this trip that I didn't know from the last trip was that there is a cemetery over here. There's been archaeological evidence exposed that show a cemetery. Now this one and the one on the other side of the road appear to be a little bit bigger. And so maybe those were the head field hands, or whomever. This one's been completely restored to its original condition. And this is one of the better ones. Okay, and this is a little placard that shows how the tabby was poured. It was poured in courses allowed to die. Wooden forms. So these are very well constructed. Obviously, they're very well constructed because they're extant. The others, anything else would have been just completely deteriorated by now. Hurricanes come through here regularly every however many years, so if these weren't constructed properly, they would just blow over. Done. There's another example of a bigger one. This is one of the two really big ones. There's one across the street. This one's been completely restored and maintained. But the ones we'll see as we continue on were not as big. And these are all pretty much in the same state of deterioration, except for this one. This is a little more so, a little further nubbed off, if you will. This is a good representation of one that hasn't been restored or maintained and still has a fireplace in it. Now look at that. These are smaller than the other two. All the rest of these are smaller, but still, I mean, to have your own fireplace, that's just amazing. Chimney would have ran right up here, as we've seen in the pictures, in quite a ways. So this would have been a lot of construction, a lot of material, a lot of expense to the owner. Going to walk through the rest of these. As far as walking down the side, there's really not much. There's no difference. Here's an interesting. The window, the slide for the window into the frame would have been right there, so they would have built a window into this. That's really cool. That's really cool. So they would have had windows. So again, by comparison, this would have been a plush accommodations for any slave in America. Everything else pretty much being wood that we know of, that we've ever read about or heard about. So tabby was, oh, here's another one with the window sill or the window slot in it. Even more defined. That's even better. I like that. That's really cool. And we see the holes. They've gotten bigger over time, but back in the day they would have been smaller and they would have just been for wood. So you would have been able to have not necessarily another story, but you'd have been places to put wood in and have a pallet to sleep on or a bed of some sort to sleep on. This is a much better representation of a fully intact fireplace. So the fireplace would have gone straight up. Very cool. So any slave that would have lived here would have, if they didn't think themselves lucky, they didn't know any better, because they were, I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it was a horrible condition to begin with, but by comparison to other places, this would have been heavenly. See, here's a fireplace that's a little more deteriorated. The archway is gone. The top part is gone, but it's still there. 200 and a couple some odd years later. Built in 1814, 200 some odd years ago. Incredible. And I love that they have separate rooms. You would have never had separate rooms. I mean, like all the other slave quarters in most of the plantations, they just had a big old barn. They would have slept on the floor. It would have been cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and there wouldn't have been no separation of rooms or any of that. I mean, they just were thrown in there and locked in. So here's a really good, this is fully restored as far as the bottom is concerned. The top, not so much, but this gives you an idea of how small the holes were. I can't think of the name of these holes, but they're for, go ahead, I'm listening. No, say.
Indigo, right?
Yeah, indigo and cotton, yeah. And we see a lot of indigo at some of the places we went further south, the plantations, where we were, well, last time we were up here, we saw like Malacompra and a couple of those other places that I can't even think of the names of them right now, but they were all rice, cotton, sea island cotton or sea cotton, and
This is sea island, or
I think they call it sea cotton or sea island cotton. I think it was sea island cotton. I'm not 100% on that. But it was indigo, rice, cotton, whatever the cotton they call, which is different than upland cotton. And this is the final slave quarter right here. We're going to go look at the cemetery now. I'm going to do a separate video on the cemetery. So we're going to sign off on this deal here right now.